In this video, we will cover the operation of the JASCO FP6200 spectrofluorimeter and its software Spectromanager. The instrument has a 150-watt xenon lamp as its source and uses two independently tunable monochrometers to excite the sample and detect its emission. There are two shutters in the sample chamber, the excitation and the emission shutter. The excitation shutter blocks your light source from reaching your sample and degrading it. The emission shutter blocks light from reaching your detector. If you aren't taking measurements, these should be kept closed. While handling the cuvette, you should try to avoid touching the sides, and you should wipe it down with a chem wipe if you get anything on them or do touch the sides. Additionally, when you're loading the cuvette into the device, you should make sure to do it the same way each time, as this will prevent impurities in the cuvette from inconsistently affecting your measurements. Finally, you should make sure that the device is turned on about 15 minutes before using it, as this will allow the lamp to warm up and stabilize. The power switch can be found on the back upper left corner. In order to take measurements, you need to start the software, which is done by double-clicking the Spectromanager icon. This will bring up a list of applications, only two of which will be talked about in this video. The first application that will be talked about is spectrum measurement, which can be opened by double-clicking on the icon. To change your parameters from this window, you go to the Measurement tab and select the parameter option. This will bring up a list of options that you can change. From here, you can choose between taking your emission and your excitation spectrum for your fluorophores. When you select the excitation measurement mode, it will scan a range of excitation wavelengths at a constant emission wavelength. And when you choose emission as your measurement mode, it scans a range of emission wavelengths at a constant excitation wavelength. This will allow you to determine the maximum wavelength of excitation and emission for your fluorophores. Once you have your parameters set and your sample loaded, you can open your shutters. This is done by simply clicking on the excitation and emission boxes here. And you can begin your run by pressing Start. Once the run is over, the spectra analysis window should open. This window allows you to zoom in on your spectrum and to save and print it. When you do save this file, make sure you save it as a text file so that Excel can process it later. I think that's it for this window, really. I mean, you could, actually, that's not how you zoom in. Yeah, I mean, it's not, yeah, they don't really, that's pretty straightforward.
Okay.
And that's all for that one. Let's just... The second application that we will use is quantitative analysis. Once this window is opened, go to the Method tab and select New. This will open a window that will allow you to change all the parameters of your measurements. Here you can vary things such as the monochrometer slit widths, the detector sensitivity, and the detector response time. Once you have your parameters set the way you want, simply press OK. It will close that box and it will open up a new window, the calibration curve parameters. Here you have a few options for what kind of calibration curve you want to make. You're going to want to make sure linear is selected, make sure that enable blank is not selected, enable calibration data is also not selected. From here you can input the information about your standards that you'll be using for your calibration curve. In order to do this, you simply select on the standard that you wish to change, enter in your concentration, and click the append button, and it should add it to the list. When you're ready to start taking your measurements, you simply press Start. However, you should make note that when you do start, it starts recording at the last highlighted standard. So you're going to want to make sure you click on standard 1 again once you're done appending your list of standards. Once you are ready to measure your standards, go ahead and press Start, and this will bring up the quantitative measurement box. From here you can control whether or not your shutters are open or closed, and whether or not you'll be measuring a standard or a blank. When you have your standard loaded into the device, all you have to do is press Start with your shutters open, and it will take the measurement for you. Once you have all your standards, you simply close out of this. Once you've measured all your standards and closed out of the quantitative measurement box, your calibration curve parameters should look something like this. If they do, go ahead and press OK, and this will bring up your calibration curve as well as your method information. If you're not satisfied with the calibration curve and you want to retake certain points, all you have to do is go to the Method tab over here and choose Modify. And this will bring up your calibration curve parameters window again, where you can change any of these values or you can remeasure some of them. If you are satisfied with your calibration curve, the easiest way to extract the information is simply to print all of these windows out. In order to make sure that all of them will be printed, go to the File tab and choose Page Setup. You should make sure that Data, Parameters, and Graph are all selected here, as well as the title being appropriate. And then from here, all you have to do is go back to your File tab and choose Print.